Hi, this is Meg from the Carroll County Public Library, Mount Airy branch, here to tell you about Sears catalog homes and their presence right here in Mount Airy. Did you think the ability to order just about anything online from places like Amazon and have it delivered right to our door was just a 21st century thing? Well, turns out we aren't so special after all. Sears was doing the same thing over 100 years ago. And from 1908 until 1940, anyone could order a complete house, right down to the nails and paint, from a Sears catalog. Here's two catalogs from the past, one from 1913 and one from 1930. This is an exact replica of the 1926 Sears Roebuck House catalog, which will soon be available for checkout here at the Carroll County Public Library. We encourage you to come and check it out. If you received a catalog like this, assuring you that you could do it, would you be tempted to go for it and build your own house? A few additional companies, such as Aladdin, Montgomery Ward, and Harris Brothers, produced mail-order houses as well, but Sears was king, selling over 70,000 houses. There may very well be some of those other kit houses here in Mount Airy, but to keep things simple, in this presentation, I'm going to concentrate only on Sears houses. Along with assurances that anyone could put these pre-cut, pre-measured houses together, our sample catalog also includes testimonials from satisfied customers. So all these houses you see on this page were put together by regular folks like you and me. You can read the testimonials yourself if you check this book out, but for now, here's what Clyde had to say about his experience. I'm going to read it from the slide here. I am well pleased with the house, in with your material. My wife and I, who are nearing 60 years old, built the house ourselves, and we saved about $1,300. Now that was $1,329. So it was quite a bit more nowadays. But can you imagine 60 years old and putting together your own house? Doesn't look too bad. Richard Warren Sears, it's his picture here, was an American businessman, along with his partner, Alva Curtis Roebuck, founded Sears, Roebuck and Company, which was basically the Amazon of the time, except one ordered from the 1,200-page Sears catalog instead of online. He realized that if he could help more Americans become homeowners, he'd be creating a new market for the 100,000 items in his catalog. So that's just what he did. Two major developments made his whole idea possible. The first was that Sears built an enormous 40-acre mill in Cairo, Illinois. Lumber was cheap and plentiful in this area. Here's a picture of the mill, and you can see all the buildings and the piles of lumber that were involved. The other major development was the Transcontinental Railroad, which made it possible to pack the pieces of an entire house into one or two rail cars, depending on the size of the house, and ship it at a reasonable price. Sears located his lumber mill and modern homes headquarters in a spot in Illinois with direct connections to over 20 different railroads. This is a picture of a train coming into our own Mount Airy area back in the day. A few weeks after the order was placed and paid for, a boxcar containing about 12,000 pieces of house would arrive at the nearby train depot. The lock on the boxcar was sealed with wax when shipped from the mill. It was the buyer's responsibility to break the seal, inventory the contents, and then unload the car. This is the reason that you'll usually find Sears' home only within 1 or 2 miles of the railroad depot. It took a lot of trips to relocate all the contents of one 20th century boxcar, and this is a picture of how they would all be packed in. So it looks like it was packed floor to ceiling with house supplies. In those days, the most common way to transport the pieces to the lot on which the house was to be assembled was to use a horse and wagon like this one. You can imagine how many trips it took to get the whole house there. Some lucky people were wealthy enough to have a fancy Model T pickup like this one here to use, but as you can see, it still would take a lot of trips to transport the house. If you purchased one of these homes, the framing members, joists, rafters, and studs, were pre-cut and ready to be nailed into place. Each piece of lumber was stamped with a letter and a 3-digit number to facilitate construction. An instruction book with the homeowner's name on the cover gave precise directions on the proper placement of those 12,000 pieces of house. The book offered this wise warning: do not take anyone's advice on how this building should be assembled. Follow the directions precisely, with no changes, and you will have a better made house than most stick-built similar models. Sears estimated that the average man could erect a modern home in about 90 days in good weather. And that was probably a little on the ambitious side. In fact, Rosemary Thornton, a well-known expert on the subject, says she's always a bit disappointed to find out that a house was assembled by an experienced carpenter rather than a novice, because the plans were invariably tweaked, often resulting in an inferior product. I find it astounding that these houses can't come with beautiful finishes and touches. Notice the craftsmanship in these stair banisters, and then the built-in dining room cabinets, ceiling beams, and even the windows. People did this themselves. It must have been amazing directions. Here are a couple more pictures of interior of houses. Look at the windows and built-in bookcases around the fireplace in the living room, and the nooks and just the framing in the bedroom. It's just beautiful. Now, on to the big question. Exactly how many Sears and other kit houses were actually purchased and erected in Mount Airy? The answer? No one knows for sure. Sears destroyed the records back in the day, so the only way you can find out is through the actual people that live there. There are lots of possibilities for sure. Along North and South Main Street and up Park Avenue, and in all the neighborhoods off these streets, you'll see lots of prospects. There are many houses that are similar to these that I'm going to show you. None of these are pictures of actual Mount Airy houses. I just got some pictures from catalogs to show you examples that houses that look similar. If you drive around, you'll see similar ones. In my research for this presentation, people shared about houses they thought were Sears houses, but to my knowledge, only 4 are certified and have been written about in the past. First, we have this little bungalow located on Ridgeville Boulevard near the entrance to Walmart. You probably pass it every day. It was built in 1936 and appears to be the Crescent. Notice how the porch dormer and pillars match the model exactly. A couple of Maytown models were the subject of a newspaper article several years ago. The first one is on Paradise Avenue. The second, very similar model, is on West Church Street. As you can see from the plans, they look very, very similar. This house is located on Route 27 near the Mount Airy Full Gospel Church. You can see that an addition has been made on it, and it has a brick veneer, but still it's basically the same type house. So you're intrigued. How do I figure out if my house is a Sears house? Start with the date the house was built. To be a Sears catalog home, it must have been built between 1908 and 1940. Those were the only times that they offered them in the catalog. If you aren't sure, just Google Maryland Real Property Search to find out when your house was built. You can also look for stamped lumber in the basement or attic. Sears Modern Home framing members were stamped with a letter and a number to help facilitate construction. Often, one can find actual shipping labels, like in the right picture, attached to the back of molding. Where can you get further information? Well, you can start with the website www.searsarchives.com. That has lots of information. Also, there are lots of Facebook groups too. Two public groups I found were Sears Kit Homes and I Live in a Sears Roebuck Home. Those are all good places to start. Or simply Google Sears houses. You'll find lots there too. And of course, there are lots of books out there too. The one I told you about is this one right here, which will be available at the Carroll County Public Library. You can also Google two authors who are experts on houses and have many books, Rosemary Thornton and Rebecca L. Hunter. And they also have blogs and just a lot of websites about them. Two last sources of information would be the Historical Society of Mount Airy, which is going to be opening pretty soon, and also right here at the Mount Airy Library. You can come here or call and just ask for me, Meg. Thanks for joining us, and be sure to get out there and walk and see how many Sears houses you can spot around town. Bye.